Ever walk past a Pizza Express on what should be a busy night? You look through the big glass window and it's surprisingly quiet. You might see a few customers, but just as many empty tables. This is Pizza Express, the home of the dough ball, the one-time king of casual dining. The place which was always a solid bet for a first date, birthday meal, or a slightly fancy post-shopping lunch. This brand used to be an untouchable institution, and now it's a ghost town. So how did the safest bet in British dining end up fighting for its life? To understand the current situation at Pizza Express, you first have to grasp how different it was when it started. For that, we have to go back to 1965. London was swinging, the Beatles were on top of the world, and British food, well, let's be honest, it had a reputation for being pretty basic. When people thought of British cuisine, they thought of overboiled beef, plain vegetables, and greasy spoon cafe fare. Into this environment steps a man named Peter Boiso. Boiso had just come back from Italy, having become a huge fan of authentic, thin-crust, wood-fired pizza. He looked around, realized nobody in Britain was really doing it that way, and then opened the first Pizza Express in Soho. Boiso understood he was selling an experience, a bit of Italian style. You have to remember, this was 1965. In an age long before the internet, social media, or cheap European holidays, this was genuinely the most accessible way for many Brits to get a taste of another culture. Pizza Express restaurants had clean, modern interiors designed by Italian artists. They had open kitchens so you could see the chefs working. Some even played live jazz. For decades, this formula was highly successful. Pizza Express carved out a unique and popular niche as the affordable but fancy sit-down meal, the safe, reliable fallback for any occasion. And that formula worked, fueling a massive expansion that saw the chain grow and grow and grow until it was a cornerstone of every UK high street. But as any business giant learns, staying on top is infinitely harder than getting there. Fast forward several decades to the 2010s and competition was everywhere. Clones like Zizzy and Ask started popping up, followed by a wave of gourmet burger joints and trendy independent sourdough pizzerias. As if that wasn't enough. Delivery apps fundamentally rewired how people ate, making a night in far more appealing than a night out. This new, crowded, and app-driven market was coupled with another issue: Pizza Express's truly staggering mountain of debt. In 2014, Pizza Express was bought by a Chinese private equity firm called Hani Capital for a staggering £900 million. To finance the deal, the company was loaded up with over £1 billion in debt. From that moment on, Pizza Express was a ticking financial time bomb, forced to run a marathon with a mountain of debt strapped to its back. A huge chunk of profits were immediately siphoned away just to cover the interest. This effectively starved the company of the cash it needed for reinvestment, new restaurants, or better staff pay. The company was now a hollowed out shell, just waiting for one good push to make it all collapse. And then, in 2020, that push came. When the pandemic hit and lockdowns forced every restaurant in the country to close, Pizza Express's fragile, debt-ridden structure completely imploded. You can't pay back £1 billion in debt when you have zero customers. The company went into freefall. By August 2020, 73 restaurants would close permanently. Over 1,100 jobs were gone. Just a few months later, another 1,300 jobs were axed. To survive, they had to implement a debt for equity swap. In simple terms, Pizza Express went to its bondholders, the people it owed all that money to, and basically said, "Look, we can't pay you. The company is finished. So how about you just take the company instead?" The bondholders agreed, wiping out a huge chunk of the debt in exchange for ownership of the business. The new owners immediately went into revival mode. They announced plans to refurbish existing locations, to open new ones, to streamline the menu, and to push takeaway. It was a new Pizza Express, leaner, meaner, and finally free from that crippling debt. But that new lean and mean structure immediately ran into a brutal new reality. The pandemic was over, but entirely new challenges were just around the corner. When the doors opened on this new era, strong sales were reported in many restaurants. People were coming back. But as Business Live reported, the group still lost over £100 million in 2022. The main reason? Crippling overheads. It was a classic leaky bucket problem. Skyrocketing energy prices, the soaring cost of ingredients, high rents on long leases, and rising wages meant the company was being squeezed from all sides. Even the busiest, most profitable locations couldn't make enough money to cover the losses from the slower ones. And just as the financial problems were starting to look incredibly bleak, a PR nuke hit the company. In May 2025, Pizza Express was officially named and shamed on the UK government's list of minimum wage offenders. The report found they had failed to properly pay over 1,600 of their workers. The timing could not have been worse. In an era of rampant cost of living anxiety where customers were already feeling the pinch, this was just about the worst look possible. It created a toxic narrative, a company asking its customers to pay more while it was illegally underpaying its own staff. All of this financial drama and bad PR has filtered down to the customers and their perception of the brand. Common complaints are the prices being sky high and the portions getting smaller. For Pizza Express, this vibe shift is partly down to a monster of its own making: voucher culture. Pizza Express is renowned for drawing customers in with a special deal, but in doing so, they've ended up stabbing themselves in the foot. For the last decade, it feels as if very few people have paid full price for their bill, with most customers using a 2-for-1 or 50% off code. The company's now jacked up its baseline prices to compensate, so a single pizza can cost upwards of 20 quid. Sure, they might fully expect you to slash that in half with a voucher, but the optics are still terrible. Customers, especially new ones not clued up on the voucher systems, frankly laugh at that price. This has trained the entire existing customer base to believe the real price is the discount price. As a result, people tend to only go if they have a voucher. So the brand's trapped in the boring middle. If you want a cheap, fast, and consistent pizza, you're ordering from Domino's. If you want a special, exciting, Instagrammable meal, you're going to that new independent place. Who's choosing Pizza Express? It's too expensive to be a value option and too familiar to be an experience. It's stuck. And it's not alone. The entire classy but casual chain model, including competitors Ask and Zizzy, is struggling. So, is this it? Is it over? Not quite. Pizza Express is making comeback efforts, like refurbishing locations and experimenting with Pizza Express to-go formats. But the contraction is still happening, just in a quieter way. Instead of big announcements, it's a slow, creeping decline. At this point, Pizza Express is stuck in a strange limbo. There's a deep well of nostalgia for the brand. People want it to succeed, but nostalgia doesn't pay the electricity bill. The brand is trapped by its own history, and the brutal reality is that the old formula is dead. The days of dominating the high street with slow jazz and a 14-pound pizza are completely over. So, the next time you walk past a Pizza Express and see those empty tables, you might be witnessing the last days of a British institution. The only question left is, how long until the lights go out for good? But what do you reckon? Have you been to a Pizza Express recently and seen how empty it is? Is there another high street chain you think is facing an even sadder decline? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, give us a like, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.